of the day that we've been discussing. The idea is, does Connor's math make sense to you? 1 + 1 = 1. That with the two additions at defensive end, Howie has potentially fixed the problems that the Birds have missing Josh Sweat. And you swung me to your side on it.
I feel good about
it. I'm not completely convinced, but I absolutely love the upside of Azeez Ojulari.
Here's what I'll say. I don't think either of those guys are Bryce Huff. I don't think either of those players are coming in here and going to be a zero-impact guy. Now, the thing with Josh Sweat, the guy that we're talking about replacing in this 1 + 1 = 1 scenario,
sure,
there were points where he disappeared too. I'm not saying that you're getting two all-pro players, but I'm saying that between the two of them and what they're going to give to this Eagles defense, your edge rusher position is not disadvantaged compared to last year. And the other thing I'm accounting for in this, too, because people are going to be like, what about Brandon Graham if he retires, which it seems like is going to be the likely
I think that's
scenario.
The case, right?
We can live under that assumption that Brandon Graham is going to hang it up. Well, you have to look at the year that was projected, right? Brandon Graham had a great year last year, but going into this season, even if he was back, you'd be crazy to assume or expect that level of production again. And he could do it because he's an all-time Eagles great. But if we were going into this season, Brandon Graham comes out and says, I'm playing again, I'm not expecting him to be as productive as he was last year. And if he is, awesome. I'm not doubting him, but I'm just saying, the expectation would not be high-level production from Brandon Graham in year 47 in the NFL.
Is it bad, by the way, because I found it out, by the way, from my wife while I was in Jamaica, that because I don't carry my phone, and she said, they just said that Brandon Graham got injured again in the Super Bowl, and I found that news from our show.
Dude, that was wild because Derek Gunn said it to us, and I was sitting in the seat you're in now, and me and Salciunas looked at each other, and we're like, is that breaking?
Okay, that is breaking.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, to me, that makes me, though, is it a bad person to say, then that means I would be totally out on Brandon coming back next year? The same injury twice. I think I'd be out on him coming back.
I don't disagree with you.
Because I'd be afraid of making that commitment. And it's going to be a, $7 million commitment, $6 million commitment? And a position, I wouldn't do it.
I would question the player more than I'd question the Eagles. I'd question Brandon Graham, hey, buddy, at this point, why are you still doing it? You can as long as you want. And we would not say no to a Brandon Graham contract even if we'd have questions. But
I definitely would have questions.
If I was sitting across the table from Brandon Graham and he's like, yo, Connor, I'm coming back. Be like, why? I love you, buddy, but you got a career in media coming. Just go do that, buddy. Take care of yourself.
What do we have on the text line there, Brendan Gunn?
Yeah, let me get one up for you guys. We got Joe the Cynic checking in on our Phillies conversation. He says, Thompson adjusting the lineup cracks me up because I'm willing to wager as soon as there's a skid, Schwarber goes back to the leadoff spot. It's the same thing every year.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, I don't dig it. I don't dig it.
Here's the thing. Different conversation if we're 2 weeks into the season and Trey Turner has however many games they played. Let's say they played 10 games. Trey Turner's bat laid off 5 times and Kyle Schwarber's done it 5 times. Then we have this conversation. Absolutely.
Okay. And I don't think that's unfair.
Yeah, but what I think this is they're using spring training games that they don't necessarily need for veteran players besides getting them stretched out, which we were in agreement on in the first segment, that it's country club.
It is.
That they're just using this to develop their contingency plan, and we will see how committed they are come regular season.
You're listening to WPN and WPN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. Connor in for Andrew, Brendan Gunn in for Connor, and, of course, Haley taking care of everything on the YouTube side on Kincade and Salciunas. It is as we begin this hour of the show, is it just me? And many times in life when I ask that question, Connor,
the answer is yes.
Connor will say it. Is the majority, so I'm saying 51% or 50.1% of the Eagles fan base enjoying this championship afterglow a little less than the last one? Because it seems like every discussion around the Birds seems to be a little more frustrated in tone, indecisive in tone, not liking the plan, and they just won a Super Bowl. They're going to be the youngest defending Super Bowl champs this century. The future couldn't be more bright. You're loaded up with draft picks. Your star components, as we did the game last week, your star components are there and in place. You didn't lose a star in Josh Sweat or Milton Williams. They weren't stars.
They played like ones in the postseason and specifically the Super Bowl, but their full tenure here would suggest no.
So, to me, does it seem that people aren't as pleased?
Yeah, and I understand it.
Okay, give it to me.
So, this is not Connor Thomas saying this. This is Howie Roseman.
Well, who's saying it?
This is Howie Roseman who said this, the example that I'm going to use.
Okay.
He compared it. Now, I would never do such a heinous thing. He compared it to the first time he had sex.
He did.
And if we're using that example, winning the Super Bowl the first time, it's special. That's a special moment, one you're going to remember for the rest of your life. And then the second time he said, it's more fun. You can actually enjoy it a little bit more. But at the same time, the second is never as special as the first, right? In anything in life, we're kind of getting to the point where we're not used to winning the Super Bowl, but you kind of had to expect the reaction was going to be different. There was going to be a little less of we won it all. Like, it wasn't the first one, so it's going to be a different reaction than the last time they won it.
We're going to need a different analogy for Brendan Gunn. He's a little glazed over. I'm telling you, it's going to be special. That's all. We talked to you about it off the air. It's going to be special. When you finally do,
one day
it's going to be special. But, I mean, to me, it does seem like people have, at least in my mind, moved on. The conversations I have with people seem to be that they've moved on from the championship much faster towards next year.
I'm glad you put this on the show sheet because this has kind of been a thought in my head where I was too scared to say it out loud because I'm
one of those... say the stupid thing first? Is that what it is?
Yes, exactly. But I've been one of those guys where it's like this doesn't necessarily... It's still a high of all highs, right? But it doesn't feel the same to me as last time because I'm so focused on the future because they are the youngest Super Bowl winning team. Like, I don't want to bring up the D word, but like there's ideas of multiple in my head. And it doesn't help when the players come out like an A.J. Brown 2 days after the Super Bowl and was like, I thought this would feel great, but I'm on to next year already. Jalen Hurts with that mindset, next year, the next best thing. I think that kind of translates over to the fans a little bit where you're like, damn, I do want to win again. And last time it was the whole press tour. Nick Foles was doing a book tour. Doug Peterson was doing a book tour. They were living in the glory. I think we were all living in the glory last time. This time going forward, I want to win with these players. Like, I'm on to the next one already.
That's a really interesting way to look at it that a perspective that I didn't think of. Last time, the players and the coaches bathed in it more. And certainly the city did. The fan base did. I think there was such relief. And you guys, no matter how big of fans you were, you can't imagine what it felt like to my generation to finally see it. It was the relief of all reliefs. I felt more joy them winning this Super Bowl than I did the first one. The first one was more of this giant exhale of just stress and relief that I finally saw it happen. This one was pure joy. And that I'm seeing a second one. To be able to have that.
On top of that, even further, like B-Gun's right with the idea of looking towards next year. When the team won in 17-18, that was a miracle to a lot of people, not just because we never thought we'd see it. Yeah, exactly. You have a backup quarterback. You had a bunch of veteran players in here on short-term deals, guys like LeGarrette Blount and Chris Long and Ronald Darby, and you look on the outside, Patrick Robinson, all of these guys that were...
God bless you, Patrick Robinson.
Yeah, right? My goodness. What a season he had. But there was no, Patrick Robinson's the guy for the next 10 years, like there is with Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. There was no Chris Long's going to be here forever, like you see with a guy on the defensive line like Jalen Carter or Nolan Smith. This feels more sustainable. You can look towards, hey, we have the opportunity to go for two, so maybe we bask in the glory of one less.
Are you guys, do you fall into the 50.1%? Are you enjoying this? You said it. You're enjoying this one like a little less.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you're already looking towards 2025. What about a 2025 season?
It's weird because my life's very different. So I can only see things from my personal perspective. And for me, I wasn't in the industry when they won the first one. And obviously,
but what did you feel as a fan?
I felt absolute elation when they won. And it was the surprise of a lifetime, the way that they did it. And the fact that they did it at all, because it didn't feel real, and I'm sure that was magnified for anyone who had been around longer than me and had seen more years of losing football by the Birds. Yeah, I celebrated it more, but I also was able to kind of sit back and take some time off from thinking about the Eagles because I was working in mortgages and I didn't have to talk about them every day.
You
didn't get the opportunity
but you did,
to talk about. Of course I did. But
you know he did.
Now, too, being in the industry, my next thought is like, okay, how does this sustain so we get to do this again next year? So we have great stuff to talk about in the off season. So I'm a little bit hungrier this time around for the next one. And the whole new norm thing that Doug Peterson said back in 2018, yeah, we loved it because it was a cool thing for him to say. But when you look at that team versus this team is definitely in a better position to continue that level of success.
You want to share your thoughts on that? How are you consuming this one? And how is it different than how you felt in 2018? You can text us at 610-632-0975. Thank you so much for checking out our content on the 97.5 The Fanatic YouTube channel. Hope you enjoyed the video. And remember, you can always be checking the playlist. There may be something you missed from one of our shows during the day that you want to go back and check out. So every time you like a video, like it, subscribe to the channel, and you'll have that great content coming to you every single day. You're greatly appreciated.